happy that I brought the Stranger Things style music back?
Yes.
Okay. That's all I wanted to make sure of.
Also, we have a New Year's resolution for this podcast of by January 1st, our first episode after that, you either A, have to get a new microphone, or B, solve your clicking issue. We are not
It's
dealing with it in 2026.
you don't hear them anymore.
No,
you
I
don't
hear
hear
them.
you don't hear them during the broadcast. You hear it backstage,
No, I
but
still
not
hear
during.
them. I hear them.
No, you don't.
Yes,
You're
I do.
lying. How about this? Okay, yes, the microphone. I'm not going to get a new mouse. I love that thing, but I'll consider getting a new microphone. Does that seem fair?
If that solves the problem, then we're Gucci.
So I understand that. Well, let me just. So I have some questions for you. I have 5 of them that I want to ask you because I do like trivia, and I think you and I both share love for, cosmology and the universe and all that. So I thought,
information.
yes, random information. And my wife always gives me a hard time because she's like, I'll give random facts. She's like, how the hell would you know something like that? What's so funny to me is it seems like it's, I don't know how rare it is, but it doesn't seem common for like when you come across some information, my brain usually thinks, why is that? So then I'll go look it up and then I'll just like find out things like why something is the way it is, or find out, like, I just have this curious mind. And I think there are some people that just don't. My wife is like, yeah, I don't care. Like, it's cool. That's like I learned what I needed to know about it. I don't need to go any further down the rabbit hole. And I'm the opposite. Anyways, but yes, so a love for random information. So here you go, Brad. What is the estimated percentage of the universe? Let me rephrase this. What is the estimated percentage of the universe made up of dark matter?
I want to say it's like 95%.
I would have thought that was the answer. It turns out it's only about 27%.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was way off. Samsonite.
What is-
I was way off.
I think what's the best guess for dark matter? Neutrinos, I believe, right? Neutrinos or some neutralinos.
No.
What?
They know that that's not dark matter.
We know that for sure. What's the
Yeah.
leading hypothesis now?
I don't know. But I just like,
Wimps.
well, I mean, the thing is, dark matter, you can't see it. We can see neutrinos. So by definition, dark matter is
Oh,
not
you-
neutrinos. We can detect neutrinos. Like, they physically interact with stuff. They have these big experiments.
Okay, so then it
in
can't be that.
Antarctica
Yeah, then it can't be that.
with xenon gas. You should look it up. It's pretty cool.
Ah, okay. Well, that I did not know. What's the name of the radiation left over from the early universe, often described as the afterglow of the Big Bang?
The cosmic microwave background.
Too easy. What's the theoretical minimum temperature of the universe predicted to occur in the far future when all energy is evenly distributed?
Oh, isn't it like 2 degrees Kelvin or something like that?
It's insane. This is ridiculous. It's heat death temperature, about 10 to the negative 30th Kelvin. 10 to the negative 30 Kelvin.
I don't understand that at all. But okay,
That's what it says.
my brain can't compute that.
Two more.
Maybe it's 2 Kelvin is like the current temperature of like the background of the universe. Maybe that was what I was thinking. Anyway, continue.
What cosmological model proposes that the universe has no spatial boundary but is finite in volume, analogous to the surface of a sphere?
The inflationary model? I don't know.
I've actually not even heard of this. Closed finite universe,
Oh,
positive curvature. I mean, it makes sense. I've not heard that actual term, but.
Got it.
And then lastly, what do cosmologists call the hypothetical ultra-dense state of matter inside neutron stars where quarks are no longer confined to protons and neutrons? You got to know this one.
Plasma. I don't know.
Strange matter.
Oh, like Stranger Things.
Appropriate for this episode, right? All right.
I
what
have
do you
2
got?
questions for you that I didn't have to look up. I'm just going to ask you them because
Okay.
one of them came up in our class yesterday. For those of you who don't know, we are teaching a class right now. You probably missed the sign up. What is the physiological phenomenon called that where protein in your blood keeps water in your blood and so you don't like just have swelling in all of your tissue? It's the reason why people who have liver failure end up with really bad edema.
I feel like I os it's is it os give me a second. Is it osmotic pressure?
Close. That's a good guess.
Is
Colloid
it
osmotic pressure.
colloid osmotic pressure? Okay. All right.
What wavelengths, like approximately, does the human eye detect? Like, what can we see? What wavelengths of light?
Well, you see from well, you can't see ultraviolet, so it stops.
What's the wavelength?
I don't know what the I don't know what it's called.
400 to 700 nanometers.
Oh, you want the actual measurement? Oh, interesting. What do we know is the actual full wavelength?
What do you mean?
Well, like it goes beyond like the wavelength that we can see, right? So then, but
Well,
then beyond that,
zero
there's
to
ultraviolet.
infinity.
It
Like,
would it be
what's the
infinite though?
wavelength? I mean, what's the wavelength of gravity waves? They're
Yeah,
like,
it's a good.
yeah, gravitational waves are like can be up to a kilometers, so nanometers to kilometers.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right. Well, now that Science Corner is over and we have lost all of our listeners, let's get into the show.
Hold on. You know, what's the one animal that can see ultraviolet?
Oh, dogs.
They c- they can't.
No, dogs can see UV.
I don't think they can.
Yeah.
Really? I was gonna say birds. Birds for sure can. So dogs. I didn't. I if dogs can see UV, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Because I knew birds could, but I guess I didn't know our canine friends could. That's
The
cool though.
more you know.
Thanks for sticking in there with us, the people that are watching. We are going to get on with it. This episode is called. Well, I was going to name it "What to Do When Life Punches You in the Mouth," but that doesn't really fit in a title very neatly. So I just put "Overcoming Your Struggles." So we're going to go into. This is more of a personal and practical episode about what to do after life knocks you down. I think it's appropriate because I mean no one has a completely struggle-free life. I mean, even I don't care who you are, you could be a super wealthy person and have no financial problems, but I guarantee you have other problems. So like no matter who you are, you've got problems, and I think everyone can relate to whether it's personal or professional or both. So life happens to you when you're trying to diet and when you're trying to lose weight. And so we're going to kind of dive into what are some good practices that I need to know, or what can I do when life kicks me in the ass, right? And we've all been there. We've all been knocked down, and I think we're pretty big on like we harp in our coaching a lot about, hey, when you have a bad day or a bad week or it's tough, here's what you just got to keep fighting through it. It will end. It'll get better, and here are the steps you can take toward making it better. So so that's what we're going to talk about. So I'd like to open it up with, if you have a story, Brad, where maybe we could start off with, give us an example of, a time in your life, whether maybe it's a big story, maybe it's something significant or insignificant, but where you felt like, man, I got knocked on my ass, life just punched me hard, and like I got to get back on track, and like here's what I did. Does anything come to mind?
I mean, there's just so many of them, right? It's like, I mean, I've had businesses fail. I've had relationships fail. I've had parents get sick. I've had, oh gosh, I mean, you name it. Like,
Give us the example of, so like when you've had businesses fail,
yeah,
you must have been pretty you must have been pretty down. You must have been pretty like, man, what am I gonna do? So what happened and what did you do?
I mean, I can't really give specifics, but like, I mean, I've had businesses that have lost huge amounts of money, right? Like, I've had things that have cost me six figures out of pocket. Like, there's been things that it's like, oh, you got to write a check to close up a business in the past, and those are always really hard. The hard part is always when it's like, oh, I have to. My wife comes home from work, and I have to be like, hey, honey, we got to write a check for X amount of money to like solve this problem.
Yeah.
But it's always like. It's always comes down to your perspective, right? It is, am I going to learn from this, or am I going to let this define me?
Exactly.
Right? One of the perspectives that I always try to go back to is there was an interview with Kobe Bryant a while ago, long time ago now probably, and they were like, do you learn more from like your wins or your losses? I can't remember what it was, and he's like, well, I don't think I ever lose. Every time I go out and play, it's a playground to learn, right? And it's like every experience can either define you or you can learn from it, right? And I think it just always comes down to that perspective, right? There's a lot of times in life there's things that happen that you don't control, right? It's you don't control the economy, right? You can control some of your decisions and like how much leverage and risk you take, but you don't always control the economy. You don't control other people's behaviors. You don't control the weather. You don't control like any of those things. And so it's what can you learn from any of the things that are quote unquote bad? And one of the things that I think is always really helpful is the stories you hear of people who have had really bad things happen and they've used it as a way to like move forward. Right? It's always like think about kids who are raised in like a house where there's bad things happen, right? Like maybe their parent is an alcoholic, maybe their parent is, drugs,
Abusive or something.
there's
Yeah.
a divorce or something. And you always hear these stories of like one person, like let's say there's two kids in the house. One kid like, okay, well if my parents did this, I'm going to do this, and so they just like end up in the same pattern of behavior. Or the other kid's like, I saw this, I'm never going to do this, right? Now I think obviously there's a lot of like nature versus nurture, those things, but I think a lot of it comes down to how do you view the things that happen to you, right? Um, and what decisions do you make based on that? So I think a big part of it is just the perspective you have. Tragedy and bad things happening is almost inevitable, right? People are going to die. Like that's, I don't know anybody who's lived forever. Right?
What?
The stock market's going to crash. Businesses are going to go out of business. Car wrecks are going to happen. Like people are going to get sick. Like that's an inevitability. And so a lot of it is like, what perspective do you have on it?
So do you think it's more of what I'm hearing from you is it's not really necessarily about, there are no singular moments that come to mind for you. It's more of when these types of things happen, there's a certain framework or a mindset that I use to like get beyond it and just keep pushing forward. Right. So like, what is that perspective for you?
I think my life experiences have given me maybe a different perspective than most people have. Is you have two options. You can wallow or you can take action, right? You can complain or you can get to work. One of those moves you through the mud faster, one of those keeps you in the mud longer, right? The same perspective is something that we can give to our clients too, right? It's like, hey, I went out and I had way too much to eat. I made bad choices. I did X, Y, Z. It's like, okay, well, tomorrow are you just going to like sit and wallow about it, or are you just going to get back on track? Right? Am I going to let one bad decision compound into 100, or am I just going to be like, oh, okay, I made one bad choice and now it's just time to get back on whatever I'm doing?
Yeah. So let's talk about that then, because a lot of what we try to teach, to our clients is, I mean, how common is it for our coaches to get a message from their client on a Monday morning, for example, and like, hey, I totally messed up the weekend, and then you've got, or because I don't know, because something happened to me, right? My so and so got sick, or this happened to my car, or this, now I got to pay for this, out of pocket, brand new washer that I don't have the money for. So like life just really got me down, and I let my eating get the best of me, for example. A lot of the reason that we're talking about this is dieting and losing weight is a goal that a lot of people have, and it's very difficult when things don't go your way, or something, life throws something at you and you're like, man, I was doing well for a little bit, and now this came in and it threw me off track, and like, now how do I get back to it, right? So, and when that happens, and let's just take the weekend stuff for example, because that's a big one for people. A lot of people do well Monday through Friday, and then the weekend hits, they go out, they XYZ happens, and then Monday rolls around and they feel those, they have that feeling of guilt or shame or disappointment, and then they got to start all over, and it's all these, these emotions that are, running through their heads. So biggest thing that you can do, and it really sounds cliche, I think, but it's the whole today's a new day, start over, which is fine, but like it becomes sort of a moot point when it just keeps happening over and over, right? So in those moments, if you're a coach, what do we tell someone who's having this recurring issue of, weekends, Monday, guilt, shame, it all starts over, and it just keeps going over and over. And like, people are, you're just having a bad week. Life is tough. Like, and what sort of advice do you think is best for that type of situation?
I think it's so context dependent. If I'm a coach, the response I give to somebody who like maybe has a day where they are way off plan, something happens, it's really going to depend on the client, right? Is this a very rare behavior, or is this every weekend? Is this somebody who has high emotional resilience or somebody who has very low emotional resilience? Is this somebody who I can have a conversation with and be like, look, I know that like you probably feel a high level of shame, you're a little disappointed in your own decisions, but at some point we have to be an adult and like own this and move forward? Or is this somebody who like needs a little bit more like emotional support? It's like, hey, I get it. I'm sorry you're going through this. Let's really try to not beat ourselves up. Like, let's maybe take a few days to like kind of regroup emotionally, and then let's get back to it, right? Everybody's a little bit different, right? Like the conversations I have with myself about how to handle setbacks and things like that are much different than the things I tell my wife, right? It's all context dependent, and a lot of it comes down to who is the person, where are they at in their journey, and what are they willing to hear and do. And so I think it's really context dependent, but I do think there are a few things that you can do. I think one is our immediate response, like biologically, is an emotional response, right? It's kind of our fast brain response. Know that those feelings are going to come and just be aware of that, right? Like things are going to happen and you're going to feel things like shame, guilt, disappointment. You may be angry at yourself. Like all of those things are normal, and you don't always control like how those come up, right? But what you do control is how you handle them, right? Can you name them? Can you acknowledge them? Can you validate them? And then be like, okay, it's normal to feel this way, but the only thing that I really have control over now is what are the decisions I make moving forward?
Do you think this is a when people have these types of issues, that it is not necessarily a discipline problem, or maybe it is, but more of a capacity problem, right? So when people fall off and they think, I don't have the discipline, I don't have the willpower, like I always mess this up, maybe I don't want it badly enough. But I think, and discipline, yeah, that can be some of it, but I think it may be a capacity issue too, because a lot of us build our life routines around a lot of predictability, right? Your work schedule is pretty predictable. The kids' schedules are stable. Your sleep schedule is usually predictable, whether that's good or bad. So, and then you kind of have, you have the mental and emotional space, but life doesn't always stay in ideal mode, right? So your capacity isn't static, right? Your capacity to deal with stuff changes, right? So your ability to stay consistent expands or shrinks depending on what life is demanding from you, right? So I think if your plate is overflowing, or if you feel like it is, it's not necessarily that you're weak and can't handle it, it's that you ran out of room. So I think one of the things that I tell people, especially when they're like, oh, I don't know if I want to get a coach, but I'm not sure now's the time is right. I just have such a full plate. It's like, well, that's actually the reason you probably should get a coach, because now we can look at your plate and be like, let's get this off of here. Let's get this off of here. Like, let's simplify things so you have more capacity, right? So discipline versus capacity. Like, don't you think it can be both, but a lot of it is we're just trying to take on too much. And frankly, there's probably a lot of stuff that we take on that we probably don't need to be doing.
Yeah. Um, let me give you two different perspectives. One is I don't find, for myself, I don't find labels helpful.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like to say I have discipline, I don't have discipline. Right? I don't like to say I'm this, I'm that. Because for me, labeling myself as something puts boxes around who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I just boil it down to what are the choices I make, right? And how do I stack the deck so I can make better choices, right? What do I do with my environment? What do I do with my schedule? What do I do with all those things? So I think there's that. Now, on the flip side is, for some people, labels can be helpful, right? If they call themselves, I'm a disciplined person,
Mm-hmm.
it helps them reinforce an identity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then they make better choices, right? So everybody's a little bit different. So I think it depends on who you are. Now, to the other piece of capacity, I think that is a huge part of it, and I think that's probably a bigger part than most people realize.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it actually comes down to priority, not capacity. If you ask yourself, what are the things that you actually, like, let's just take it from, like, the health fitness, like what we do as a profession perspective. To really, in like the modern world, to really try to optimize your health, it comes down to make good decisions about 3 meals a day and try to get to the gym 4 to 6 hours a week
Mm-hmm.
and walk a little bit. Okay. None of that sounds that difficult to do. Right? It's when you go to the grocery store, buy good food, prioritize making meals at home versus going out, and try to get 4 to 6 hours a week of like structured exercise. Okay. The reality is, if most people, if they look at their calendar and they like how they book their calendar is inverse of what actually matters.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Most people book their calendar of, here's all my work stuff, here's all my kids stuff, here's all my social stuff. Now, where am I going to fit in how I cook my meals and how I take care of my body, right? The reality is, of course, you're going to have a capacity issue, right? Like, the modern world is insane. Like,
Yeah.
there's no pulling punches. Like, there's things coming at you all the time, every time, and everybody's trying to keep up with everything, right? It's like, oh, my kids have to do 6 sports, they have to be in 19 extracurriculars so they can get into the best college. It's like all these things, right? So of course you're going to be super busy. But how many people sit down and look at their calendar and go, okay, if I actually prioritize my values first, and I go, okay, what do I value in my family the most? Okay, health. Like, let's say that's the first priority. Well, put that in your calendar first, right? Okay, when are we going to prioritize, like, grocery shopping, cooking our food? When are we going to prioritize exercise? Like, okay, what days of the week is the family all going to the gym together so the kids can go play in the gym, or they can go to the babysitting thing in the gym, and my husband and I, or my wife and I, can go get some exercise, or we're going to go on a walk, or we're going to go on a hike. We're going to schedule our family vacations around these things. Here's the nights that we're eating at home. Here's how we're going to do that. And then you build, like, okay, well, now based on that, here's the sports you can do.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the extracurriculars you can do. Here's our work schedule, right? Most of us don't do that. And so I think it's the issue that the reason that we all have capacity issues is the way we prioritize things is usually flipped. And part of that is, that's just the way the modern world drives us. You have to be very intentional about what actually matters to you. And that's hard. That's really hard.
Yeah, but I think the example you gave is really helpful. I think that's something people can take away and actually start, and implement right away. It's a really good idea. It's your calendar, and when you state it like that, it kind of sounds simple, right? Where you're like, look at your calendar, put what you value first, outline that becomes your routine. You do it long enough, it kind of becomes you just do it on autopilot. But I want to throw a different perspective at you too, because I've told you before, you're one of the hardest workers in the room, right? Like, there's never been a time where I've been like, hey, Brad, you got 5 minutes to meet with me, because I want to go whatever. And I know that you're busy in that time, but like you've never been like, nope. It's like there's nothing that ever has been, I think, thrown at you or work that you've not done. But on the flip side of that, and the reason I say I'm throwing a different perspective at you is there is also a time where, like, we're human beings. You got to rest. If you nobody can just do something indefinitely because you'll just die. Like you'll just burn out. But I think this belief that I should be able to push through anything no matter what always can be a sort of a detriment at times, because I think somewhere along the way we seem to, like, we're taught that if you rest it's weakness, if you take a step back it means you don't want things badly enough, or if you were truly committed, nothing would derail you. And I don't think that's necessarily motivation. I think it could be in a form of self-punishment disguised as grit, right? Like even elite athletes, right? Like Kobe, he was a dude who, like, I guarantee he adjusted things, during stressful times, and adjusted his training. And, CEOs, like, they adjust their workloads during certain seasons. So I think consistency isn't always necessarily about pushing through everything. I think it's about knowing when to pivot, when you should flex, your schedule, or when you should, relax, and when you should adapt, and when things should change. But I think sometimes that self-care, I mean, you just had a post, was it yesterday, the post that you made about, like, taking time for yourself and put your oxygen mask on first and taking care of yourself. Sometimes that might mean, hey guys, I just need to go, like, sit down for like an hour by myself and just, like, do nothing because I need to reset, or whatever it might be. That's just one example. Wall. Yeah. So, right. But I think where does that fit into that? Because I think it's very admirable to always, I'm going to push through it. I'm going to get through it. But make sure you take the time to do whatever you got to do to reset and rest too.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's, I'm guilty of this, very much so. But we have this self-narrative that usually drives most of this, right? The idea of, like, oh, if I rest, I'm weak, I need to do more. That's almost driven by just this narrative we have of what we think the world is asking of us, right? In reality,
yeah, that's fair.
That's all made up. Like, if you were to ask yourself, who do you admire the most? Like, if you really ask yourself, is it the person with every accomplishment under their belt, or the person who, like, really has control of their time and is happy? Right? So I think a lot of this, like, I have to do more, I have to do more, I have to do this, is a lot of self-driven by this, like, false narrative we have. And so I think a big part of it is, how often are you, like, sitting down and reprioritizing and, like, rebalancing what's going on? One of the, like, conversations that my wife and I are, like, just having over the last few months, and trying to figure out, like, what does the next stage of life look like now that we have kids, of, are we being intentional with our time and our energy and our attention, or are we just kind of, like, going through the motions of, like, get up, go to work, do this, check the box, make sure, like, it's very easy to go through 20, 30 years of your life just doing all the things versus being intentional with the time you have, right? I was listening to something the other day, and the quote was something like, I will spend the next 20 years, like, building my empire and all this wealth, and I know that in 20 years I will give anything. I would give all that money up to go back to where I am today, to be 20 years younger. And so, like, that perspective of, like, okay, well, if we know that, why do we not make different decisions now? Because I think so much of what we do in our lives is caught up in, what are other people going to think of the things that I accomplished, versus what is the life I really want to live. And so, like, a lot of it comes down to just, like, how do you reprioritize that? So I think a lot of to go back to the theme of this episode of, like, overcoming challenges, is when you're faced with difficult things, try to have the perspective of, like, okay, how do I take this and use this as an opportunity to, like, live the life I want to live?
I think it's super cool that you and your wife have that conversation though too. I mean, that shows a lot of foresight, right? I think that's really an admirable thing. How 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 powerful or important do you think are these tiny levers, that the tiny actions that you can take that compound over time? I know you're pretty big on that, right? So like, for example, I'm going to hit 5,000 steps today. I'm going to eat 100 grams of protein today. Just like these micro steps that add up.
I'm
Something
gonna
like
eat 100 grams at breakfast.
that wouldn't be very much breakfast, well, depending on what it is. But so if like these little actions that can build momentum, and over time you're like, holy crap, I made a bunch of progress, right? I think that's pretty. I don't know if it's overlooked, but I think it's overlooked. I think it's undervalued. People aim for these big changes, these big drastic life overhauls, when in reality, that's when most people fail if you're trying to change too much at once. So realistically, if life knocks you down, you're better off taking 1 to 2 things at a time, wouldn't you say? Even if they're small things.
I think it depends. I think there's also periods of life where you just need to make a big change. Right?
Yeah, that's true too.
I think there are periods where small changes don't cut it. Right? I think there's times where, like, let's say, this is just one example. Let's say you really want to, like, build your own business, right? And you want to be an entrepreneur and you want to do all those things. Well, at some point, you're going to have to quit your main job and do it, right?
Mhm.
Now, there's always the, like, am I going to do the smart thing of build this on the side, save enough income, like, do all those things? Yes. But at some point, you have to make a big decision, right? At
Mhm.
some point, you and your wife had to decide to get married, right? You didn't just like, oh, I think I'm going to be like kind of married today and not tomorrow. I think I'm like going to take it 1 day a week and then 2 days a week and then 3 days a week. And then it's like, no, at some point you have to make big decisions.
Mhm.
So I think there's periods where you have to do that. And sometimes you have to make those decisions sooner rather than later. I was having lunch with a really good, like, long-term colleague / friend of mine last week, and he had made a really big life change. And so we were just kind of chatting about it, and I was like, hey, like, how did you make that decision?
Mhm.
And he was like, I got to this point where I was just thinking about, like, the next few years of my life and, like, what was going to happen. And he was like, I realized that the work I'm doing now, I won't be doing when I'm 80. Like, I just won't be doing it, and I can't do it, and I don't want to do it. And so when is the optimal time to make this change? He's like, well, if I actually think about it, it's today. So he's like, well, what am I waiting for? Like, I have to do this. Like, I know I'm gonna have to tell my wife, and there's gonna be tears, and it's gonna be really difficult, and, like, there's all these things that are gonna happen, but, like, I just have to do it. And so I think life is a combination of slow, steady progress and also big changes.
We got a comment, by the way, from Michelle. Here's my realization. I'm 64, so assuming I live to 100, big assumption, she says, I have 36 Christmas holidays left. My oldest son is 36, and I remember the day he was born like it was yesterday. Dang. Yeah. That's an the older I get, the more I sort of take that angle. Like, do you ever think of it that way? Man, I only have X amount of years left, or I only have X amount of Thanksgivings left, right? We talked about that at Thanksgiving, how this could be your last one. You never know. But that's a very, I'm glad you mentioned that, Michelle, because I think that's a very important realization and can help you make decisions like Brad was just talking about. When you sort of frame things like that, you kind of realize, I don't think I have as much time as I really think.
No,
I
you don't. I read this book a couple weeks, maybe a month or so ago, and it's really, there's very few books I've read that have, like, massively changed my perspective about life. It's called Die with Zero, and it's basically, it's a financial book, and it was basically like, most people don't realize the biggest risk you take is actually dying with a bunch of money.
That's fair, that's fair. Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, let's say, I'm just going to make numbers up, and these, just because the math's easy. Let's say you work really hard and you save all your money, and by the time you're 65, you have $10 million and you spend 400 grand a year in retirement, which is a crazy lifestyle, right? But your money keeps growing and you end up dying with $25 million. It's like you could have retired 15 years earlier and died with like $500,000 left, and like you wasted those 15 years of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Unless you like absolutely loved your job and it was like the single biggest reason you got out of bed every day. But like what is more dangerous? Like running out of money and your kids have to take care of you for 6 months, or you end up like in some crappy retirement home and it's like not a great last 6 months of your life, or 2 years of your life, or you waste the 15 best years of your life between 45 and 60, where your kids are, you can travel with your kids, you're healthy, you can do all the hobbies you enjoy, you can go golfing, you can go hiking, you can go fishing, do all these things. Like, what's the bigger risk?
Right.
And so when I think about like our clients and our community, there's sometimes where I see people who've been in the group for years and they've never signed up for coaching and they're kind of stuck. I just think let's say you spend 3 years with a coach and you spend $1,500 a year on coaching. It's a decent chunk of change, but you also then get the next 30, 40, 50 years of your health back, right? Like, I can't think of a bigger risk to take than not doing something, right? Imagine if you're like, oh, I'm afraid that I'm going to waste $160 on the first month of coaching. I'm not going to do anything. It's not going to be a good fit for me. Like, but what if it works, right? And we know we have a 97% success rate. Like, it's hard for me to watch that because I've seen so many of the stories, right? I think the risk of not taking an action is the biggest risk you can have.
Yeah.
Right? It's sort of like financially, right? If you look at the biggest risk you could take, if you do the math, is never invest in money. Like if you just leave it, if you just take the safest route and leave it all in your bank, that's actually the biggest risk. Right?
Speaking of that book, though, because I did a quick Google search, but it looked interesting. Do you think that's something like was there a single, like a singular biggest takeaway you had from it?
Yeah, it was don't optimize your life financially so you die with a ton of money. Like every financial thing is like, oh yeah, save all of your money so you die with a bunch of money. Like that's really the model. It's like if you look at every retirement model, that's pretty much what it is. So it's like, okay, well, how do you find the balance of how do you invest for the future, but how do you also maximize your life, right? And my parents, so I was talking to my parents about this. They retired in a couple of years ago, and they've basically spent the last 2 years like doing nothing but traveling. Like they've just been go. And we had a health thing with my dad last week, and they're like, well, I think maybe this is gonna like limit our travel, and I'm like, no. If anything, this is like a sign to go do everything you can now.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Right, like live life the most you can while you can.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean like you just YOLO it and put all caution to the wind, but it's like, are you being super intentional with the time you have?
At what point in your life do you think you and your wife and your son, or sons or daughters, if you have more, will do that kind of traveling? Is that something that interests you and you want to do, or just not at this stage in your life?
I mean, I think it's probably when he's a little bit older. But I think the things that I really want to do is I'm more interested in like a lot of the stuff around here. Like I want to take a trip to the Redwoods. I want to go to Montana and go fossil hunting for dinosaur bones. Like
you do live in a pretty sweet area for that kind of stuff.
I want to go like hike Glacier.
Yeah.
I want to go, take him out to, the Washington coast and go crabbing. Like all of those things. That's like the life things, right? Like going on like exotic trips to like New Zealand and stuff like that.
Not really your thing.
We'll maybe do some of those things. But I just think there's so much life to live here.
What about a rocket car out in the Utah Salt Flats?
I mean, that'd be kind of cool.
Have you ever been to the Salt Flats?
No.
Oh, okay.
I've been to Utah. Over them a lot.
You've been to Utah?
I've been to the Salt Lake Airport a bazillion times.
Yeah, I suppose you would.
They have a
It's
very nice Delta lounge there. I spent a lot of time. I spent a lot of time in that Delta lounge.
nice.
I've probably written a lot of podcast articles,
You've
etc.
done
in that Delta
you've
lounge.
done a lot of Macros Inc. work in that Delta Lounge.
Yeah.
Look at you, bougie. I need to be part of the Delta Lounge. It looks pretty elite. I looked into so this is just totally random, but so I'm taking my daughter to London in January. Well,
You haven't told me that. I had no idea.
I have to tee it up for the backstory here, Brad. So I'm taking her over there. But I looked into just for fun. Like I looked into. I'm curious, how much would it be to fly first class?
Oh my God, so much
what?
money.
$2,900 per ticket to fly first class.
Oh, I thought it'd be like 15 grand.
Well, I mean that would be absurd too. But I thought 29. So this would cost me $6,000 for me and my daughter to fly first class. I'm like, what in the world? Sorry, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, like, for most people who know me, I'm like the cheapest person you've ever met in your life. Like, and mostly just because I just have like such low needs.
Sure. Well, you buy more of something that you're going to use, like a bike, for example, or things you can actually go out and use and do.
Yeah,
like that's
but
your
like,
style. Yeah.
I mean, I buy $20 jeans from Old Navy. I wear them until like I literally was pulling on my pants the other day, and I grabbed by the knees to like pull up the
There's
legs,
a hole there.
and I just ripped a hole in my jeans because I've worn through them. Like $20 jeans I've had for forever. But the best money I've ever spent is on access to like the lounges in the airport when I travel.
Yeah. Why is that? What like is it just?
Because I get out of all of the people and I can like go find a quiet place and do work, and there's free coffee and food in there, and mostly I just drink a ton of coffee, so it's great.
So this is an ignorant question here, but how do you become a Delta Lounge member? What would I need to do? Uh-oh, did we lose Brad? I think we lost him. Right? Did we? Or is it just me? Let me text him and say reset. Oh, he left. He lost internet. It's not me. Oh, you know what I could do during this time? Hold on.
Sorry.
Oh, here he's back. I was gonna start playing
You
some
lost
music,
me.
like I was gonna try playing some Jeopardy music, but here you are. Sorry, keep going.
Sorry.
My-
This might be an ignorant question. It was the last thing I heard.
great moment to go out on. But no, I was like, how do you become a Delta Lounge member? What do you need to do? Because I want to look into this.
Well, there's, you can either like buy a Delta card.
So you have
can
to
like,
okay.
you can have enough travel points, or
Ah.
you can have like an Amex Platinum card and fly Delta. There's like a lot of ways.
Okay,
It's all
I got you.
It's just a stupid use of money, but like it's the only thing that I will never travel again without having it. Like,
Do you have a Delta? Do you have a Delta?
I would sell my plasma so I could go.
Do you have a Delta credit card?
No, I have an Amex card.
Oh, okay. Because they keep
It's
mailing
literally
me
the
these things
only
they want me
reason
to-
I have it is because I have to go to the lounges now.
They keep emailing me sending physical mail being like open a credit card, and I want to, but I really don't, because I also don't like the credit hit that you take for a while. I'm like, that's the stupidest thing in the world. I don't need to open another credit card. Anyways, let's get back on track. So I want to go over what do you not do when life punches you, right? Just like, what would you say are like the biggest common traps that, like, this is what you should definitely not do. Like, if you were a coach right now, what would you tell your client? Don't do this, right? So so for example, if you have a bad day of eating, one of the common things people do is they'll, like, the next day they'll just exercise themselves to death as if it's like punishment, right? Like it's a compensatory measure. I'm like, no, don't do that, because all that's going to do is set you up for, you're just going to stay in this cycle, right? So definitely don't do that. Don't beat yourself up, and don't compare yourself to don't compare yourself to someone else, right? Compare yourself to your past self, but don't compare yourself to other people. So what are some things you would say, don't do this for sure if life kicks you down?
There's two major things that I wouldn't do. One is I would not compound my mistakes. I wouldn't let one bad
Double
thing
down.
end up with more, right?
Yeah.
The analogy is always like, oh man, somebody scratched the door on my car. It's not perfect anymore. I'm just going to go drive it off the bridge, right? Like, don't let a small thing end up becoming a big thing.
Can you imagine?
And this is a pattern of behavior we see a lot, both in terms of like nutrition, exercise, etc., and also just in life in general, right? So that's the first thing. And the other thing is, I would not try to win everything back at once.
Yeah.
Right? It's sort of like when you go
Yeah, for sure.
gambling. If you lose, you don't try to like then go just win it all back at once.
Well, some
Right.
people might.
Right? It's like, oh, you put some money in the stock market and it goes down. Like you don't then just like
Knee-jerk reaction, right?
yeah. It's
Yeah.
setbacks are going to happen,
Mhm.
and just keep doing the work.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
So
my biggest advice.
how do you know? I kind of want to wrap this up with, benchmarks to assess if you are making progress or rebuilding, because you obviously need some sort of measurable sign. But and I think the biggest thing is most people don't really realize that they're making progress until like the scale is a big one that they look at. But obviously there are other measures to look at. But I think even something as simple as like your mood is better. Your outlook starts to kind of change. You're doing maybe one or two things consistently that you weren't before, just little things like that. But what's your life philosophy on the things that I look toward to tell me if I'm making progress?
I think there's a few things. And the first thing is, are your actions consistently aligned with your goals? Right? Always go back to, am I doing the work I need to do? Right? The outcomes are always going to ebb and flow. Right?
Yeah.
You're going to have some workouts that are great. You're going to have some workouts that just don't feel great. You're going to have some days where you nail your nutrition, some days where you don't do great. But the thing is, like, are you focused on the process and are you doing the work? That's always the biggest thing. The second thing is, are you slowly making progress towards your goals? Are you just like slowly chipping away at it? If you're trying to lose weight, like over the course of a month, is your average weight going down, or is it going up, or is it staying the same? Are your step counts going up, going down, staying the same? Are the actions and the outcomes moving in the right direction? And those are the biggest things you can do. I think the other piece is the mental side of it. Are you doing a better job of having positive self-talk? Are you mentally getting in a better space? Are you aligning your environment to give you more resilience and a positive outlook? Or are you aligning your environment to kind of drag that back, right? I think one of the best things anybody can do is structure an environment that's almost sycophantic, but not really, right? Like you have to have people in your life who will kind of keep you grounded and keep you from being crazy, but remove all the haters. Like, what good are they doing you?
They could motivate you
Yeah. I mean,
if you're someone who likes proving people wrong, right? Like
the whip only goes so far.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think the reality, I can't remember the number, but like, I think the average person can handle like 30 relationships and like 7 close relationships, or there's something like that. I can't remember.
That sounds like way too many.
Yeah, it's like it's a very small number. Be very specific. Be very diligent. Be very careful of what is being fed to you on a daily basis, like what narrative. And that's one of the hardest things to do as an adult, right? Is like set boundaries about who you let in your life. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that's really painful, right? Mm-hmm. But I think that's important.
your the number of relationships comment reminded me of what I sent you the other day. It's like I want to be invited, but I also don't want to go.
Don't invite me. I'm not coming, and I don't want to tell you.
Yeah. But still invite me. Like I want you to want me there, but don't get offended when I say that I don't want to go.
The other thing that I've noticed as an adult is, and maybe this is just mostly because I'm a dude and this is how dudes work. The people that I keep in my circle, like when you pull up your phone, you go to text people and you've got like your favorites at the top or whatever. The people that are like in my close circle are all busy.
Mm-hmm.
They all have all their stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
And like if we don't talk to each other for a month,
mm-hmm.
like that's normal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Like that's just, we all have so much going on.
It's adult life.
But if you ever need anything, like they're always the first person there.
Yeah.
Right? And it's always somebody who's a positive influence on your life, somebody who's cheering you on, somebody who'll, if you're starting a business, is going to be the first person in line at the door to check out. Like those are the relationships you got to cultivate. And all the people who are going to tell you no, who are going to be like, this is a bad idea, who aren't going to support you, who are going to be like, oh, you don't really need to go to the gym on Friday, you need to come to the bar with me. Like those are the relationships you got to start letting go, right? And it's, the older I get, the less apologetic I am about who I am.
Just being yourself, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you find, because I definitely find that everything you said is true regarding friendships and relationships, even like, my siblings, I have 2 sisters, love them both, but don't really, it's not like, I don't talk to them every day. But so even those types of relationships change. Like you have one sister, right? Like are you close to your sister? Like do you talk to her much or?
Yeah, she just moved like a 6-minute walk from me actually.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Nice.
So when the weather's nice, I just put the baby in the stroller and walk over there.
Oh, that's cool. I can't remember if you've told me before. Does she have kids?
She has 2, yeah. They're like 7 and 10.
Oh, so they're much older than your
7 and 9.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay.
One's in 3rd grade and one's in 1st grade, I think. You know how like they're at that age where like you don't really know how old they are, but they're like somewhere in lower elementary school.
Remember that time I picked you up at the airport and my kids were making fun of you the whole ride?
Yeah.
Kids are jerks, man. They're just authentic little jerks.
My kid will not behave like that. He will be very nice to everybody. Except for me, he can give me crap because I'm his parent. That's the safe space. But other adults, no. He might punch you because he's a boy, but I don't know.
I can tell you that pretty much will happen. I mean, my little guy, of course, it's a power thing for him. He's 5. His younger sister's 3. So what does he do? He pesters the hell out of her all the time. Like he'll do stuff just to piss her off because he knows it's going to elicit a reaction. I mean, that's obviously kids, but I'm like, dude, can you stop? Like your mom and I are trying to watch a show. It's 7 p.m. We just want to watch something, and she's screaming because you're just annoying the living you-know-what out of her. Drives me nuts. If I could give you one bit of advice, Brad, it would be have 4 kids. See how you like it. You made. I have one more random comment, but you made the whip only goes so far. You know when someone whips, why it makes that sound, right?
Yeah, breaks the sound barrier.
The sound barrier. It's kind of crazy. Or the mini sonic boom. It's kind of wild when you think about it. Did you ever? You probably never flew the Concorde.
No.
That thing would have been sweet. They need to bring that back.
They are bringing it back.
Are they?
Do you know why they canceled it?
I would assume it was multiple reasons, but 1, the sonic boom annoyed people, and 2, I don't think it was very economically sensible.
And like, have you seen like how uncomfortable the seats were?
I didn't. I think I've seen like an interior picture, but I assume they're packed in there like sardines.
Yeah, it was like awful.
I wonder how much a ticket was. Like, I think that's probably why it just wasn't economic.
I mean, I think this is gonna sound crazy, but I think it also has gotten to the point where The people who need to be getting to and from places that quickly are just chartering a private jet.
Probably. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a very good point.
It's
Yeah. All right.
It's still on my bucket list.
What, the private jet?
To just like go on one at some point.
Would you rather own a private jet or a big ass yacht?
Neither.
Okay, someone's gonna gift you one. You don't have to pay for it. Which one are you taking?
The jet, because the maintenance of a yacht and dealing with that. I think 50 Cent had the best quote about that. He's like, owning a yacht is literally just like having a giant hole in the ground and just throwing money in it. So a friend of mine, a really good friend of mine, one of his like best friends is part of the like Paul Allen family.
Yeah.
Do you know how much they pay a year for the yacht just to sit in the harbor? Just to sit there. $8 million a year.
That's ridiculous. That's insane.
Yeah, it's like $650K a month just to keep it in the harbor, like maintained.
My God.
What?
I wonder what do you think it costs to operate one of them, just like for a single day, like while it's active while you're using it?
I want to say it was something like I'm probably gonna totally miss this, but Tiger Woods' yacht was like $50,000 just to fill it up with gas.
That's absurd. Yeah. What the hell? Like, that is absurd.
Although this is my plan to become a billionaire. Is at some point when I have enough capital, I'm going to buy a freighter, because the economics of buying one of those giant things that just like you put all the cargo, like the shipping containers on, and you make all of the capital back in like 2 trips.
That's
so sweet. Once you buy it, then it's like profit from like the 3rd trip. I'm like, dude. So I just need like $100 million to get started. So if anybody has $100 million who wants to underwrite my next startup, well, it wouldn't really be a startup. It would just be like a shipping business. I know nothing about shipping. I know nowhere to get those contracts, but I can figure it out. Give me $100 million.
Just go to a VC firm and pitch them, Brad. Here's what I want to do.
All right. Well, I have to leave because I have a very exciting meeting.
Yes, I do too.
Macros Inc. has their first official real B2B partnership that's launching in January. So I have to go have a meeting about that, which I will have more details later.
Do that. I'm going to play this beautiful Stranger Things style outro music, and we'll be back next week for you peeps.
Oh, I'm so excited. We have 14 days, 2 weeks until the next episode's drop.
All right, guys, we're out of here. Enjoy the music. Talk to you soon.